You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the September 19th, 2023 meeting of the Michigan City Common Council. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order our September 19th meeting of the Michigan City Common Council. Can everybody please silence electronic devices and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and a silent prayer. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be read.
Ms. Nyla, on the roll call, please.
Mr. Dabney.
Present.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Present.
Mr. Mack.
Present.
Ms. Deitch.
Present.
Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Present.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Present.
Mr. Simmons.
Present.
And Ms. Tillman.
Present.
We have 8 present and no one absent.
And as with, like to, I guess, announce that Councilwoman Gigas has resigned from the council. There will be a caucus held by the LaPorte County Democratic Party. The date has not been announced yet. Once the council, once the county, the precinct chairs are notified, then that'll be out to the public and the caucus will be scheduled to select a new council member. Approval of the minutes.
Motion approved. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Don Prespolinski as seconded by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Ms. Nyla, on the roll call, please.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Aye.
Ms. Tillman. Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Mack.
Aye.
Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
And Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Reports of standing committees. Councilman Dabney. No problem. Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Michigan City Finance Committee meeting met on September 19, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. The Michigan City Riverboat and Boyd claims docket for September 19, 2023. Riverboat Fund number 2235, $6,435. Riverboat EFT Fund number 2235, $0. Boyd Development EFT Fund number 2504, $33,600. Total claims $40,035, and those claims were for LaPorte Chrysler Inc., $6,435, and Prior Technical Fireworks Inc., $33,600. The City of Michigan City Riverboat Statement of Cash Position fiscal year to date, September 18, 2023, grand total ending balance, $6,243,369.42. Also, we discussed during the Finance Committee meeting that tonight the 2024 budget salaries is all on second readings, and that any amendments that may come forth tonight by the council, I'm asking that you present those this evening and moving forward so that we will be prepared to wrap things up on October 3rd.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Claims docket, September 5th, 2023, Fund 2235, Riverboat claims $6,435, EFT 0, Fund 2404, Boyd Development $0, EFT an amount of $33,600 for total claims of $40,035. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Dabney to approve the claims and second by Councilman Paul Prespolinski, Ms. Nyla on the vote, please.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Aye.
Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Mack.
Aye.
Ms. Deitch. Aye. Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Aye.
And Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Reports from boards and commissions.
Tommy Klovic, 1316 Ohio Street. I'm also your common council appointee to the Michigan City Fire Merit Commission. I want to express my gratitude to Chief Legault and Local 475. They purchased my badge. It was issued to me at our last meeting. It's very cool, very, I love it. I wanted to say that we did hold our physical agility test Saturday morning, and there were 23 that were applied. One didn't show up because he didn't get his letter until the day of the test. So we're going to have a special time to set up for him to do our test. But there were 3 that did fail. They just couldn't get off that stairman. They were like 90 seconds into it. They just collapsed off it and just couldn't continue. But 20, so we're probably going to end up having interviews for 20 candidates to become new members of the fire. And they were all just amazed. There were like 5 of them that really stood out. They did like, they're supposed to do it in 10 minutes and 20 seconds. They completed all in just 7 minutes and 30 seconds. They were incredible. So, I think we got a really bright future for the Michigan City Fire Department. I just want to pass that along. I'm really looking forward to the next interview phase and the hiring. It's going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klovic.
Good evening, councilmen and the public. I'm reporting from the Michigan City Sustainability Commission today. And I'm happy to report on August 23rd at the Drive Clean Indiana Annual Conference and Expo, which was held at the Blue Chip. We had 9 attendees from Michigan City. Of the sustainability commissioners who attended was Michelle Basta, Andy Jans Davis, who's the chair, Faye Moore, Tristan Bogart, who's our student commissioner, Beverly Mack Martin, and her friend Melanie Pryor, City Planning Assistant Sylvia Collins, Transit Department Assistant Chesty Stanley, and from the Sanitary District, Joshua Barnett was there. I should also say I was there, and Joshua actually brought one of the big trucks from our sanitary district. He bought a 30 cubic yard Labrie atomizer, self-loading trash body fitted to an Indiana-made carbon compressed natural gas powered autocar chassis. This was a very impressive and big truck. So Michigan City was represented extremely well at this conference that was for all of Indiana. Actually, we had people across the whole state that were there. Then on September 8th, we took part in the Climate Leadership Summit 8, which was held at Indiana University Northwest in Gary. Attendees from the Sustainability Commission were Faye Moore, Laura Henderson, Secretary, LaTanya Troutman, Daisy Lee, and myself. I ended up presenting at 2 sessions because unfortunately, Andy Jans Davis took ill. The first session was the introductory session, which was on Northwest Indiana resilience. And then the session that I was supposed to take part in and did was the Sustainability Commissions. And I'm happy to report that Northwest Indiana, we were the rock stars of the summit, and especially the Michigan City Sustainability Commission was recognized for all of our initiatives and everything that we've contributed, not only to the region, but also to the whole state of Indiana. So we should be very proud. And thank you for allowing me to get this report.
Thank you, Ms. Molnar. Councilman Prespolinski, you have.
Oh, yes, Ms. Moldenhauer, I'd like to ask you, have you, the state sustainability committee, have you figured out how you guys are gonna pay for the charging stations down by the public lot?
I have an update on that. Sylvia Collins, who is the city planning assistant, has actually been assigned to that project. She's been in contact with the third-party vendor, and they're working with them. There seems to be some sort of a problem with software, and I don't know what's going on. But Skylar York assured me that she's on top of that. Also, the good news for you, Councilman Prispolinski, is that everybody will be paying for their charges because they're putting in the credit card slot into those chargers.
Well, I'm glad to hear that after they were installed, but I will say that, you know, you're talking about those garbage trucks. The city of Michigan City has been doing that for years now. They've had those CG trucks, all right? And
Yep.
they also have a station down at their garage, and I think they've been doing that for at least 10 years now, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Michael Cuss was the one that started that, and he's recognized throughout the state of Indiana as a leader in that. And Indiana University actually did a case study on all of the improvements that the sanitary district has made
Yeah.
in green energy and also plant efficiency also.
Yeah, it's probably a lot better than trying to put batteries on them trucks. A lot cleaner too for the environment. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Councilman Prispolinski, for following up.
Your question.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Mullenhour.
And thank you very much, President.
Any other reports from boards or commissions? Reports of special or select committees? Reports from mayor or other city officers and departments?
Good evening, Council President, council members. Doug Legault, Michigan City Fire Chief. I'm going to go over our incident breakdown for August 2023. We had 428 number of calls. 11 were listed as structure fire. 11 were listed as fire, 4 structure fire, 5 mobile property, which would be vehicle fire, 2 outside rubbish fires, 341 rescue emergency medical service incident, 17 rescue emergency medical other, 291 medical assist, 30 emergency medical service incident, and 3 water or ice related rescues, 8 hazardous condition, no fire, flammable gas liquid condition 1, 5 combustible flammable spills, 2 electrical wiring equipment. We had 6 service calls, which include 1 service call other, 2 animal problem or rescue, 1 public service assistance, 2 unauthorized burning calls. We had 58 good intent calls, which included good intent call other as 38, 14 dispatched and canceled en route, 2 wrong location, no emergency found, and 4 were steam or other gas mistaken for smoke. And we had 4 false alarm calls. I'd also and 4 Narcan calls. So our graph chart is on the Narcan, January was 4, February was 6, March was 7, April 7, May was 3, June was 9, July is 7, and then August is 4. I'd also like to report that our 2023 Pierce engine truck has now been delivered to Aurora, Illinois at the local dealer. We sent our truck committee up for this final inspection about a week ago. They found a few things, they took care of it. So it's in Aurora. It should be delivered here late week or early next week. And then we will work as fast and hard as we can to get it put in service. The 2023 aerial truck, the salesman, our salesperson contacted me and said he's hoping to contact me next week with a delivery date on that, probably about a month out. So just want to thank the mayor, controller, attorney, council members, everybody involved, trucks that we really need. Thank you. They're just about here.
All right, thank you.
We also have 6 probationary firefighters that started the Career Academy Monday. So I'll give you updates on that as I get them. They usually give me a progress report every couple weeks. So I'll keep you in contact or informed on that. And as Commissioner Kolavic said, our are in the final stage of the hiring list. They have to do the interviews next, and then they will comprise a list. Hopefully we'll have 19 people on that. 19 passed. We hasn't passed yet though, have we? We got 19 right now that passed the physical agility test that will go on to the interview portion of it. Then it will comprise all the numbers, get a list, and that's all I have.
Doug,
Yes, sir.
I mean, on the 6 that are probationary, were any of them lateral transfers?
No.
No?
No.
Are there any lateral transfers in the group that you tested?
The testing group, there's 2 actual former Michigan City firefighters that retested to come back.
2 former?
Mhm.
Okay,
They did pass everything so far.
okay.
And the interview's not a pass fail, they just get points for how they do, so. Yep.
All right, thank you. Sounds like we're on our way.
Yeah, I have a question, Chief.
Sure.
So with all the testing, interviewing going on, where do we stand as far as our firefighters that we have, and what's the amount that we need to be at our top manning level?
We're allowed 81 firefighters. We have 81, but the 6 of them are now on day shift, kind of, for the academy. They go Monday through Friday at the academy.
Mhm.
So we're at capacity at 81, but I just have 6 that are working at the academy right now.
Yeah, and once they come back,
Then they come back, we'll
that'll
have,
be full-fledged
Yep.
firefighters, and
Yep.
then you'll have
we'll be at 81.
you'll be at 81.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. So you're gonna be right, you have people coming in and you have people you're already
We're at 81 right
bases
now.
covered,
Yep,
right?
the 6 are included in that 81.
Who's on
We're at
third?
81.
Who's on third? All right,
Thanks, Sam.
all right.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Chief of Police Steve Porker. Again, just wanted to follow up in reference to the meeting a couple of weeks ago. There was a few questions that I wanted to answer regarding that you had referenced some of those statistics. First off, our flock transparency portal. We sent out a Facebook post this afternoon with the link on that. What you'll find on that portal, what's detected, what's not detected, data retention period, the number of vehicles detected, and so on and so forth. Some information regarding that. So again, I'll encourage people to, again, if you follow our Facebook page, we just made a post this evening. I think it was 5 p.m. it went out. So they'll have that information. A press release went out with that as well. Regards to flock usage, we met with flock late last week. I guess I'm happy to report that 72% of our officers are using the flock search database. Of that, I'd say 28%. Several of those are new hires and probationary officers that really don't even have access to it. They have a username, but they don't have access or not using it in their job capacity right now. So at us, at 72% is well above, I would say, the state average for Indiana flock users is at a 49%. So we're in Michigan City, we're using a lot more than it seems like surrounding agencies that have flock as well. And the same thing in regards to receiving alerts. So our officers, again, our users are receiving 64% or 64% of our officers are receiving those alerts, hot list alerts, as opposed to, again, the state average on that is also 49%. So again, our officers, we are finding are using it. Again, we know that they're using it. Again, it's just the next slide or next point we're currently working with our command staff to make sure we're accurately documenting those uses and successes so that we can share those obviously with the public as well. The Falcon cameras, the plate readers, over the last 30 days, we've had 2,294,506 plate reads. So that's the amount of traffic that we see through and around Michigan City on our Falcon cameras. So with that, we've received 50,514 IDAX alerts. So when we talk IDAX alerts, that's expired registration, suspended drivers, habitual traffic violators, stolen vehicles, wanted individuals. So those fall into the category of IDAX alerts. Again, not all of those are verified, right? Those are just maybe the registered owner is suspended, but it's not the registered owner driving, right? It could be the registered owner is a male. Well, then if we observe a female driving, right, we can't stop that car, right? We have to be able to human verify those things. So again, we get that many alerts. Again, we're not panning out. We're not stopping 50,000 cars because of those alerts. So again, like I stated, we're working with the command staff right now. We literally had a meeting a few hours ago about, that spreadsheet to document those uses and those success stories when we're, again, recovering stolen vehicles, recovering, stolen goods or used in, to solve a, crime or identify suspects. So we're working on that to get that more accurate there. Councilman Prespolinski, you had referenced some vehicle thefts, separated from the actual thefts. So in 2020, we received 215 calls for service for vehicle theft. 2021, we had 198. 2022, we had 163. And then this year, we've seen 124. Regards to case reports filed in reference to those thefts. Again, 2020, we saw 116. 21, we saw 83 reports filed. And in 2022, 88 reports filed. And again, in 2023 would be 93 reports filed so far this year. Councilman Nelson Deitch, you referenced, the violent crime statistics in reference to this year. So we referenced the first, I would say, from January 1 through September 10th of last year in comparison to this year. Stabbing shootings. Again, 32 in 2022 and 19 this year, so minus 13. Total shots fired calls, 2022 was 341. This year is 333, so we're minus 8. Criminal recklessness was 4 and 4, so we're even on there. Battery reports, in 2022 was 196. This year is 207, so we've seen an increase of 11. And battery reports, domestic battery calls for service in 2022 was 798. This year we've seen 704, so minus 94. Robberies reports in 2022 was 5. We've seen an increase of 6 this year at 11. Burglary reports. For some reason, we were unable to pull the 2022 stats, at least recently. I don't know why we couldn't pull that actual report number, but this year we've seen 102. Burglaries in progress last year was 104. And this year we've seen 91. Again, that's just the calls for service. It doesn't necessarily mean a burglary has happened, but again, so we did see a decrease in the actual calls for service for a burglary in progress. And then the sex offense calls for service this year again last year, 2022, 51. This year, 49, so a minus 2 there. So again, that's just the comparison for the violent crime statistics compared from last year to this year. So, and I just wanted to answer those questions for you, give a little update on the flock. And
Councilman Dabney.
I have no questions. I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
This has been a long time coming. We're getting this thing up and running, and I'm happy to see it. So I just want to thank you guys for all your hard work in getting this done. So a coincidence just happened. My phone buzzed to tell me that my car doors were unlocked just as you started to talk about car thefts. So I don't know if that's an omen. If somebody would have jumped in there, they would have just been practicing though, because there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
But I was able to lock the door. So right. I don't know if you called that up, but that's what happened. So once again, thank you. I appreciate
Presence is the #1 deterrent. Right?
Yeah. Councilwoman Tillman.
I concur with that as well, with Councilman Dabney. I do have a question for you though, Chief Worker. So you indicated in regards to the alerts, and I just want, if you could just elaborate or be a little bit more clear so that those that's watching at home and that is present here, that the intent of the Falcon is not to gear towards, okay, your registration that is expired, we're getting ready to pull you over and things as such. Because I know when we were going into this, that was some of the community's concerns, that are you going to be pulling over because I got an expired plate or it's not registered and things of that nature. Does that still apply? But unless there's probable cause or that makes you need to investigate into that further, if
Yeah,
it's tied
again,
into
you know,
something else, then
Right,
you do so.
everything, any alert that we receive, always is gonna require that additional, I would say reasonable suspicion, not so much probable cause, but reasonable suspicion. So if we get an alert, necessarily maybe, like you said, an expired license plate, right, we still have to verify that, through our database, through our information to confirm that it is in fact expired, right? It's not just a automatic, process. So no, I mean, like you said, that's not necessarily the intent. It's just, it's not traffic enforcement, right? Those cameras do not provide any enforcement action. They don't, they're not speed. We're not going to send you a ticket in your mail because you drove by a flock camera with an expired plate, right? Those cameras don't allow us to do any enforcement action.
I hear Councilwoman Deitch on the end, and that might be something we need to look into in regards to the speeding aspect, because I get a lot of calls in regards to, in the Fifth Ward, regarding speeding, running through stop signs. And so maybe in those areas, maybe something may need to be implemented for those.
July 1st, they passed some legislature, some laws that are now allowing Indiana to enforce via, like speed radar, like camera systems, like you see in Chicago or Illinois, like some red light cameras, stuff like that. So I believe that legislature did pass back in July 1st.
Okay.
I don't have all the details on it, but so that could be a possibility in the future, but currently what we have does not provide any enforcement action.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Councilman President.
Chief Folker, I was wondering, at any time in the near future, has there been any discussion about putting together a new program for a crime report map? So it could be disseminated to the community so they know what's going on. Like, I know they had a program and a few years back, and that it was kind of convoluted with everything on top of it, and do you think that you guys could try to work on it with IT to have a layer system or something?
Yeah, possibility. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm thinking just, something, a crime map with calls for service type of,
Well, I'm looking at, one thing that's always on my mind is where incidents happen, because usually you have a hot spot, so people are aware of it, and they can be notified through, the radio communications and stuff like that. And that's because all I can say is I've had vehicles stolen, and that's why I asked the question, because the year that my one vehicle was stolen, I think there was at that point in time, there's like, I couldn't believe it, because I started doing the background check on how many cars have been stolen to that time. And I see that it's been coming down considerably, because I think the year that my vehicle was stolen, there was like 300. There was a car stolen like every day or every 0.5 days in the city of Michigan City. And that was like, what was that, Don? 5 years ago? Yeah, it was 5 years ago. So I'm bringing that up because, things happen to people, and it's, it sticks with you.
Right. No, absolutely. I was taking some notes there for sure. Yeah, we'll
All
definitely.
right, thank you, chief.
Thank you, Chief. I had one,
Yeah.
go ahead, Councilman President. Go ahead, good.
Okay. Thank you, chief, for the information this evening. Yeah, and when the system was proposed to the city council, I supported it 110%. Something that the city needed. Other communities around us were doing it already, which I wasn't made aware of. But once I was made aware of it, I stood behind it 110%, and I still do. I do have a question, and that's what that using the alerts. You said 64% of the officers are using the alerts. Now, can you explain what the alerts are and how we can get that, or what the plans are to get that usage up to like 90 or 95%, or what an officer has to do to use the alerts?
Yeah, again, part of that is just our personnel that is not, I would say, actively in patrol, right? So part of that, they're not receiving those hot list alerts or those notification alerts, because they don't need them in real time. Like for instance, our detective bureau, right? They don't necessarily need them to pop up every second at their desk, right? Whereas maybe patrol would be, want to be alerted to wanted individuals, and stolen vehicles, right? That are traveling through. We want those obviously at the patrol level. So that's part of, I would say, the number, it's probably never going to be 100%. But again, part of that too, I think, is us. I would say we drank from fire hose with this stuff, at the beginning, right? It was, learning a lot, a new system and understanding it. And now I think we're starting to get back to the point where we need to revisit it and retrain ourselves, because now we know some of its capabilities and some of us are using it better than others. So we need to learn from obviously the people that are doing it well and how they're using it. And again, how other officers can use it as well. So again, that's something that obviously we're working on. Again, the alerts, essentially it's all web-based, right? So it's as long as the officers essentially logged into the Flock safety system in a web browser and its notifications are enabled. That's the 64%. So like as they're actively patrolling, their mobile MDT essentially can provide those real-time alerts as they occur. Right. So it'll just ding, right? Like just any kind of notification that they set up, whether it's a bell or whatever in the background, it could pop up and then they would have to, recognize and, verify the alert.
Okay, so when you do your monthly, reports, when you come down, can you also add that in there? The percentages of using the Flock database and how many are using the alerts? Because I want to make sure we're getting our money's worth out of what we paid for. Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Councilman. Real quick, Chief, one, I want to echo all the sentiments of my fellow council members. We appreciate the work that you guys are doing, and we 100% support what you guys do. So one quick question I want to ask: has the data that's being collected with the Falcon, has it led to any arrests or convictions yet?
I could probably say no on convictions because it's still, the process takes a little while. I mean, again, I know it's led to arrests. I can't really pinpoint a bunch of them. I know a handful. But again, I don't have that with me. And again, that's part of us collecting that data accurately. Again, speaking with Flock last week, they're doing the same thing, right? How are you collecting the data? How are you using the data, right? So we asked them the same thing. How are other agencies doing it? They did provide us with a spreadsheet that, essentially everyone's using now type of thing. They're forwarding that out. So we got that from them. And now we've implemented that at the ship level. So now when we're reviewing reports and arrests, that data can be collected right there, that time and place. Because again, we have a place to log it on the front end of investigations, but a lot of time this technology is being used on the back end of investigations. When we start talking about identifying suspect, I can come and take a report. I think there was a red car with 4 doors. Well, you know, on the front end of the investigation, we're taking down a theft report or whatever, and then in the back, we're trying to find, right, identify and locate. You know, so we got to figure out how to tie it into the both ends of the investigation. Is where we're seeing our hang up.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about that. I know sometimes.
I agree. You know, obviously we want to celebrate our successes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and let's say as the police department, we're not always that good at that, you know, so we're trying to find ways to do that as well. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Okay, petitions,
There are no petitions this evening.
communications.
Correspondence was received in clerk's office on September 11th from Anthony Lewis, Michigan City, regarding what he observed at the council's last meeting on September 5th. Correspondence was also received on September 13th from Ms. Dahlia Zagus, resigning from her position as council member. And there are no resolutions.
Is this Mr. Lewis? Did you want to speak on your correspondence?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Thank you,
Yep.
council, for seeing me. My name is Sergeant Anthony Edward Lewis, United States
go ahead.
Army and Marine Corps combat veteran. I'm a resident of Michigan City, semi-retired. I wrote the letter that I hope you all had a chance to read after the last meeting because, well, I'll just come out and say it. I had a Iraqi war combat triggered event. The police report was excellent. And without getting into specifics about new technology being rolled out in the police department, it made me think very much of a system that I have worked with called the Blue Force Tracker. The Blue Force Tracker system is what the United States Army uses to maintain what's called situational awareness. The technology that I think that the police department is developing, if it's not completely developed, then they're developing it, is military grade surveillance, command and control systems. So immediately, this is a change in my city that I become very concerned about. I've already been to combat. I don't like the idea of coming home to a hostile environment because of the surveillance, potential misuse or abuse of surveillance technology. I got ahead of myself. Something very important that I wanted to say is that I enjoy coming to these council meetings because I'm always looking for something. I am looking, and I haven't been disappointed yet. I'm looking to see a council that is truly representative of the city of Michigan City. I am genuinely proud of each and every last one of you. I think I've had contact with each of you in my time trying to work as a voting rights activist. I think that you know that for me, it's just an extension of what I see as my civic duty to try to help my community get what is theirs. I come here not to see how the council is going to fail. I don't look for that. I look forward to seeing exactly what I have seen since the first time I've come to one of these meetings, and that is a group of people who are civil, dignified, upright, transparent, motivated to do the best for this city because it is their city. You're setting an example, and it's appreciated. I hope that the council will always be just as it is right now. The Blue Force Tracker system, it has a downside and something that I believe is considered an afterthought, and that is the moral hazard. I believe that whatever the police department or any department in this city is working on, if it's not able to consider the little guy, the guy who's expected to sit in front of a screen, the moral hazard associated with seeing.
Got about 15 seconds, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. Dark situations. You have the ability, and I would argue the duty and responsibility to anticipate how the technology is going to affect that little guy. Your mission is incomplete until and unless you also incorporate that. And I believe that's my time.
Thank you. Ms. Nyla, can you please read our first ordinance on first reading?
An ordinance on first reading
By title only.
by title only, an ordinance amending section 2-457B2B in chapter 2, article 7 of the Michigan City Municipal Code to amend the appointment time of members to the City Commission of Social Status of African American Males. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch.
Any comments from the sponsor?
Sure. This is to resolve, we've had on our agenda for most of the year, an appointment from the Ministerial Alliance. So this is to make it a Michigan City resident. So to replace the Ministerial Alliance with the Michigan City resident, and also to stagger the terms so that we have, instead of 1-year terms, what we're struggling with or what we've seen is that every year they have to re-up. Every year they have to re-up, and then we're chasing letters, chasing the organizations to get the information or to get their appointment. So these will become 2-year terms beginning 2024, and we'll stagger them so half are in 1 year and half are in the other. And these are this amendment is only for the council appointments. This has nothing to do with the 7 mayoral appointments. This is section B. So that is all that's changing. I know we talked about it and I said I would get it done. So it's to make that adjustment so that we can replace the Ministerial Association and put a Michigan City resident. So from here on out, we'll have 2 Michigan City residents that are appointed in the opposite years. So that's it in a nutshell, pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council? Oh, Mayor Perry.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. President. Michigan City Mayor Dwayne Perry. I would just hope that that the council would consider, rather than a resident of Michigan City, a resident of LaPorte County, because we do have metropolitan areas in Cool Spring Township and Springfield Township that are not within the city limits, but their kids go to Michigan City area schools. So they basically are Michigan Cityans. So I would just ask that you consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Tommy Klovic, section 1316 Ohio Street. It's pursuant to section 2-457 of the Michigan City Commission of the Social Status is open to any county resident. So any county resident can apply to the council or the clerk's office to fill this seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klovic. Any other comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
Just to state that there are, of the 8 appointments, there are 6 other appointments, so they can be a resident of LaPorte County. So it doesn't really matter. So you got 8, you got 6 other positions. They can appoint them from anywhere within the county. These are for 2 Michigan City residents. Makes it easy. So if the Human Rights wants to give somebody from LaPorte County, they can. Minority Health Partners, they can. Swanson Center, they can. Michigan City Area Schools, they can. And NAACP, they can as well. So these 2 are specifically for Michigan City residents. The other positions can be anybody from within the county. So it's not prohibiting them. So 6 of the 8, they can be from anywhere within the city, but these are for 2 Michigan City residents.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments from the council? Here, seeing now, this will be held over for second reading. Ms. Nyla, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading?
An ordinance on second reading by title only, an ordinance vacating a public way within the city of Michigan City. And this is introduced by Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Any comments from the sponsor?
Mr. President, Attorney Anthony Novak is here this evening to discuss the ordinance and answer any questions. I believe I went through it pretty thoroughly at the last council meeting on first reading, but I know the attorney's here this evening to answer any questions and explain it.
And this will also be our formal public hearing. Mr. Novak.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman. My name is Anthony Novak. I'm an attorney with Newby Lewis, Kaminsky and Jones in LaPorte, here on behalf of the petitioner Sting Gurley LLC. The facts were presented a couple weeks ago, but just briefly for everyone's benefit, we're asking that a public way that was detailed in the petition, platted over 120 years ago, be vacated. The two properties adjoining it are owned by Singh Gurley. This is our representative here, Ty from Singh Gurley. Their ultimate plans would be to have a development on this property, but there is a public way that's shown on the exhibits to dissect the property that they have. So the ordinance that is in front of you would vacate that property. Per Indiana law, when an alley is vacated, it is split in half and it goes half to one property owner, half to the other. Given that they own property on both sides, they would ultimately end up with the entirety of those two parcels and be able to pursue development. So we've sent notices per city ordinance to the adjoining landowners, ultimately published notice. This is the public hearing tonight on that. And other than that, the alley has not been used, not been platted, not been used, doesn't deny the access to any does not deny the public access to any public location. So we would ask for support and, if possible, second and third reading tonight of the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Novak.
Yeah, I'd also want to ask for a third reading this evening.
I support
Mr.
that.
President.
Okay. So any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Okay, public comment is now closed. We have a motion and a motion by Councilman Don Prespolinski and seconded by Councilwoman Deitch to have a third reading on this ordinance. Any other comments from the council? Okay.
She has to take a vote.
Yep, Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Can you please read this ordinance on third reading?
An ordinance on third reading by title only. An ordinance vacating a public way within the city of Michigan City. And this is introduced by Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Any comments from the sponsor?
Just as I stated previously, and Attorney Novak had mentioned that this land was platted 120 years ago to have an alleyway go through the property. And in 120 years, there hasn't been anything go through the property except weeds and possibly people just driving through the property. And according to the developer and what they want to do there, I think the property is going to be well used and make a tremendous impact and be an asset to the Michigan Boulevard corridor. So I am all in favor of it, and I hope all my council colleagues will also vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
Motion just approved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Councilwoman Tillman and seconded by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Mack,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
and we have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Congratulations. Please read our next ordinance on second reading.
An ordinance on second reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Riverboat Fund for improvements to Paz Road between Cleveland Avenue and Clover Lane per an interlocal government agreement with LaPorte County, Indiana, and the City of Michigan City, Indiana. And this is introduced by Mr. Mack, Mr. Dabney, Mr. Paul Prespolinski, Ms. Deitch, Mr. Fitzpatrick, Ms. Tillman, Mr. Simmons, and Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Ms. Nyla, real quick. Is tonight our former public hearing or was it?
It's tonight.
Okay, so we need to fix this in the minutes. It says August 19th. Okay. So we can do that now. We can do that when we approve these minutes at the next meeting.
Well, it's just reflected on the agenda. I think it's clear that tonight is the night it was published that way. So the minutes just need to make sure, you just need to make sure that it says September 19th.
Okay, I see what I
It's just a
did.
scrivener's error.
Okay.
Okay. So tonight will be our formal public hearing. Any comments from the sponsor? Any comments from the sponsor? Any comments from the public?
Yeah, this is Tommy Klovic, 1316 Ohio Street. Councilman Michael Mack, I feel this will go down as one of your legacies as a council member for getting this started. All you members picked it up. Anything going with, I know we introduced the ordinance that adopted Michigan City into the lit tax, and now for opening up the Michigan City Promise Scholarship for all the students that rent. I think this is great. I went to the county commission meeting last Wednesday. They unanimously approved the memorandum of understanding. This was brokered by Mayor Perry and Commissioner Connie Grammarosa. The city is going to pay $475,000 of that, and the county is going to pick up $125,000. And the city is going to do the striping and provide for the traffic control. I just want to thank you for all getting this done. I'm going to demand and insist you move this to second and third reading tonight. Thank you. Taking pylons will go out tomorrow morning, hopefully, and they get this done for us, for our kids and our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalava. Any other comments from the public?
My name is John Franks, 209 Kenwood Place, Michigan City. I don't know, I can't ask a question, can I?
In regards to this ordinance about the Paz Road?
Yes.
Yes.
This additional appropriation, does that include sidewalks and curbs?
I do not think at this time. Mayor Perry's raising his hand.
Dwayne Perry, Mayor, Michigan City. Sir, the total project is to include sidewalks. The reason they're not included in this portion is because the sidewalk portion of it is expansive. We are going to install new sidewalk, not concrete, but a 10-foot wide Viking walking trail all the way from Clover Lane to the intersection of Paz and Cleveland, where we pick up existing sidewalk. We're also going to extend that sidewalk north along Cleveland across 20 all the way to Barker Middle School. Now, that's not going to happen until next year because we have to purchase easement to do that. Whichever side of the road it's on, we're going to have to purchase easement to do that. And when we do that, the major stockholder or in that issue is going to be the school system because they will benefit mostly from the sidewalk. The school system, Michigan City Area Schools, has requested that we also extend that Viking walking trail up Woodland Ave all the way to the former Brown Mackey. So that's why ultimately that whole area will be connected, but because it takes time to purchase the easement, it will not be done this year.
Would that be one side or both sides?
Just one side.
Couldn't be enough. The reason I say that is because I belong to the Masonic Lodge out there, and going down Plaza Road at night, west, you just can't see anybody. Especially if there's the cars coming your way. It's very dangerous. And of course, as you know, Mr. President, you introduced the program a number of years ago.
Hit the lights.
I got your name. I got a copy of the new dispatch.
Wow.
And it's highly dangerous out there. And at that time, that meeting, the police department said, I think, well, I'll read it instead of yes, no. There was 41 accidents in the past 10 years at that time along Powell's Road. And I heard the rumor that they were going to eliminate the sidewalks, and I'm glad to hear that they're going to be in there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Public comment is closed. Any comments from the council? Councilwoman Deitch or Councilman Prespolinski?
I wanted to ask the controller why, this is a good project, but is there no money left in the MVH fund to do this? Does it have to come out of the riverboat? I've been thinking about this since the last meeting.
Yvonne Hoffmaster, City Controller. No, there is no funds in the MVH for paving. The MVH fund is used for the operation of the street department. And the MVH restricted funds that are used for paving is the $1 million matching grant for the community crossings.
So the MVH fund was used up for this year, and we had no money left over from last year or the years that we missed the boat on paving?
The MVH in probably the last 20 years or so has had no funds available for paving out of the MVH fund. The MVH fund is strictly used for the operation of the street department. It pays their employees. It maintains the snow plows, their trucks and things like that. There's not enough revenue coming into that fund to budget for paving out of the MVH fund.
Okay, I do understand that, Ms. Hoffmaster. The point I'm making is that if this thing would have been planned out, it could have been done with MVH funds over a 2-year project or whatever. That's the point I'm trying to make, because you see, we're always going to the riverboat fund, always. And everybody uses that catchphrase, sustainability. Well, let me say this much, is that, we were technically penniless when we took office. And I just want to make this statement right now, is that we better start thinking about sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Deitch.
Mr. Minnick, so are we on track and on schedule? Once we get this done, if we go to third reading tonight.
Good evening, Brad Minnick, Haas Associates. I had conversation with County Highway Superintendent Charity Glazer yesterday and informed her we had final reading anticipated for tonight and to keep it on the schedule with Reed Riley.
For the fall break, right?
Correct.
Okay, and what was that date again?
It's the second Friday in October. Second Thursday and Friday in October.
Okay.
So it's 12th and 13th.
Okay.
And again, there's going to be 4 days of milling before the paving can start. And the my recommendation to the contractor was to do this final surface during that fall break. That way, that we won't have bus and student traffic cutting up the final surface mat. It's less problematic if they drive over the lower lifts of the pavement.
So they can do the milling during the week and prepare it and then do the actual surfacing.
Right, it'll be, like I said, 4 days of milling, and then they can do the intermediate lifts of asphalt prior to the surface.
Okay. All right, thank you. Would you please let us know if there's any changes to that?
Sure.
All right.
Any other comments from the council?
Motion request to do third reading?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Tillman to have third reading and seconded by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Ms. Knight, on the vote, please.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
and Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Knight. Can you please read this ordinance on third reading?
An ordinance on third reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Riverboat Fund for improvements to Paz Road between Cleveland Avenue, Clover Lane per an interlocal government agreement with LaPorte County, Indiana, and the city of Michigan City, Indiana. And this is introduced by Mr. Mack, Mr. Dabney, Mr. Paul Prespolinski, Ms. Deitch, Mr. Fitzpatrick, Ms. Tillman, Mr. Simmons, and Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Thank you, Ms. Knight. Any comments from the sponsors? Councilman Prespolinski.
Do we need to take a vote or looks like acclamation here?
Oh,
Yeah. Just a little
We'll go
levity
through
in there.
Go through the formalities. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion to approve by Councilman Don Prespolinski and seconded by Councilwoman Deitch. Ms. Knight on the please.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
and Mr. Mack.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Knight. Can you please read our next ordinance on second reading by title only?
An ordinance on second reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Riverboat Fund to fund the sewer lateral repair public property fund in accordance with ordinance number 4689 codified in section 98-252 of the Michigan City Municipal Code. And tonight, it was advertised in the paper on September 6th, and the hearing has the wrong date and should be September 19th.
Correct. This is our formal public hearing tonight. Any comments from the author? Councilman Prespolinski.
Yes, I'm very glad that this is finally coming to fruition and that everybody supports it. This is a good piece of legislation for all the neighborhoods of Michigan City. Because you don't know where you're gonna have a sewer problem, and this is a benefit from the Riverboat Fund that goes to the general public now. And I just want to say that I am gonna ask for a third reading on this.
Thank you, Councilman.
At the proper time.
Thank you, Councilman. Yeah. Councilman Prespolinski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that I dealt with a individual that lives on Superior Street, having sewer problems and having lateral problems. And they did qualify as part of this $150,000 to be able to get their lateral repaired at no cost to them. So they were very happy to hear about that. And I just want to say that this here is a ordinance that is going to directly help all the citizens in Michigan City, and very proud to be a co-sponsor on it. And again, my brother just so happened to be the second ward city councilman that brought this up, but I think it was a great ordinance and a great piece of legislation that we passed for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Public comment is now closed. Comments from the council.
I'm gonna ask for a motion for third reading.
Comment first.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. It's all good. Okay, look back at in 2019, there was a resolution passed by the sanitary district. I'm assuming that it used to be that what would be paid for with these lateral connections would be the property owner would pay for what's on their property, and they would pay what's on city property. They came along and made this resolution here, 1409-19, which then started to charge the property owner half of what the city used to pay. And so this is what has caused us to have to come in and use city funds to, I don't want to say subsidize or, pick up what the sanitary department basically dropped off. I would like to see in the future, if the mayor could write a letter over to the sanitary department and ask them if they could just complete this, or not complete this, but change this in order for them to go back to paying for what's on city property, and then the person pay for the private property. So now it's created this gap, and now we're stepping in to use city funds to pay it. But I believe for the future that they should be able to go back and pay what's on city property rather than dump that off into our laps in order to be able to fund it. I understand, and I'm going to support this because there were people that got caught in this net of how it works. But I believe that we should go back and ask the sanitary department if they can go and fix this resolution here, to go back and pay everything that's on city property. So, we don't have to come in and basically, take up the burden of what they left behind. So I would hope to see it happen that way in the future. But I do understand that, tonight I am going to vote for this to help the people that got caught up in this net of how it fell apart. But I really believe they should go back and change this resolution that they passed in order to fix it the way I just explained. So hopefully we can get that done, because I believe it's their responsibility to pay for what's on city property. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Deitch.
You said that was in 2019 that they passed that? Is there a timestamp on that date? No?
No, I don't have the.
Okay.
But Angie, I did hear that the whole group of them has turned over since then, if I'm not mistaken.
No, some of the same ones on there. That's why I wanted to ask when it happened. If it was 2019, it'd be interesting to see what provoked it, or if there's something in the minutes that caused them to do that. So I'll go back and look. Thank you.
And then the original goes all the way back to August 10th, 1978. Don't know what that said. Couldn't find that. But in 2019 is when this change was made. So.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Presbyterian.
Thank you, Councilman Dabney. That was a good analogy of that's why I came up with the 2019 date. And with my investigation, what was going on at that time was the sanitary district user fee, stormwater fee was on the table, and they were crying poor mouth at that time too. And that's how this thing was enacted. So I agree with that concept about having the mayor, this could have been resolved a long time ago, that the mayor just instruct them to do it, because, for clarity and transparency is that how much money did we give them out of the ARP money? How much money did we give them to buy the CNG trucks? We've been giving money to the sanitary district all along. And this is why I'm making the statement about sustainability and what these people are doing and taking out of that riverboat fund, when we could be doing something strategically for the neighborhoods with that riverboat money. That is the point that you need to be aware of as we go into next year. So I'm gonna make that motion now.
Make it.
On third read, to pass this on third reading.
Support.
We have a motion to have third reading this evening by Councilman Paul Prespolinski and seconded by Councilwoman Deitch. Ms. Knight, up on the vote, please.
Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Aye.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Aye.
Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
And Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Can you please read this ordinance on third reading?
An ordinance on third reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Riverboat Fund, the Sewer Lateral Repair Public Property Fund, in accordance with the ordinance number 4689 codified in section 98-252 of the Michigan City Municipal Code. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch, Mr. Don Prespolinski, and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Any comments from the sponsors?
Just that, I'll say that I'm very proud of all the positive energy that this has generated for the council and the will of the council. And that's what the general public should realize, that we are your your representatives, and this is the things that need to get done by elected representatives. They have to go sometimes out on their own trail to get something done. And I just want to comment one more time that this is being procrastinated, because I have a letter sitting in front of me that was on file September 5th that was dated August 15th by the mayor, saying that he approved, this is, I guess, a approval letter for the appropriation in the budget to the Riverboat Fund to fund the Sewer Lateral Repair Public Property Fund in accordance with ordinance number 4689, codified in section 98-252 of the Michigan City Code. And dear council, as you know, the city recently enacted the ordinance number 4689, which created a sewer lateral repair fund and codified the same in section 98-252 of the Michigan City Municipal Code. In accordance with said ordinance, I am requesting the $150,000 be appropriated from the Riverboat Fund to establish the sewer lateral repair fund. Thank you for your consideration. And with no haste, I would like to go on with the vote, because I have further comments about this letter.
Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Don Prespolinski and seconded by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Ms. Knight, up on the vote, please.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Aye.
Ms. Tillman. Aye. Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Ms. Deitch. Aye. And Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Can you please read our next ordinance on second reading?
An ordinance on second reading by title only, creating section 46-38 and section 5269 in the Michigan City Municipal Code to prohibit the use of compression release engine brakes, jack brakes in the city limits. And this is introduced by Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
I'm going to ask the council to keep this on the table, because I've had no communication with the attorney's office on this.
Support.
We have a motion to keep this ordinance on the table by Councilman Paul Prespolinski and seconded by Councilwoman Deitch. Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman. Aye. Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Mack,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch. Aye. Mr. Don Prespolinski
Aye.
and Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Was there a duration for the table? Indefinitely?
Just till the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry, didn't clarify that.
Ms. Nyla, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading?
Hold on. An ordinance on second reading by title only, creating section 22-70 and section 50-151 in Michigan City Municipal Code to require a solid waste disposal plan for each application to Michigan City Planning and Inspection Department for a building, electrical, HVAC, and or plumbing permit. And creating section 22-82C in the Michigan City Municipal Code to require that a building site be cleaned and all construction debris be removed before a certificate of occupancy is issued. And this is introduced by Mr. Don Prespolinski, Ms. Deitch, and Mr. Dabney.
Any comments from the sponsor?
Yeah, if I may, we had a workshop pertaining to this ordinance and the next ordinance coming up. And if I may comment on that workshop, the workshop took place September 6th, 5 p.m. in attendance. Councilman Don Prespolinski, Paul Prespolinski, Tracy Tillman, Councilman Brian Dabney, City Attorney Amber LePage, City Planner Skylar York, Inspector Sue Downs, Chris Vandenberg, and a handful of Michigan City citizens. Let's see, this one here, basically, there weren't a lot of comments about this particular ordinance. It was really the one with the refuse, which will be the next ordinance that comes up. So, yeah, this ordinance did have a workshop. Weren't a lot of, if any, comments in respect to this. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you, Councilman.
No.
Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
Yeah, Mr. President, in response to this ordinance, and I'm sure that a lot of citizens in Michigan City feel the same way, but when we see construction work going on, renovation work going on, rehabbing work, whatever you want to call it, and there's just piles and piles of construction debris piled out in front of buildings, houses, what have you. It's great to see the work being done, but then the debris is an eyesore for the city, for the neighborhood, and the folks that have to live around where this work is being done. So what the sponsors are doing, and the inspection department and the planning department and code enforcement are just putting in some rules and regulations on how building permits are going to be distributed and permitted to people that want to do this work. You're going to have a disposal plan on how you're going to get rid of the debris, whether it's by boxes, or debris boxes. I'll call them debris boxes. Yeah, or through a private, trucking firm, however you plan on doing it. But you're going to have a plan before you're going to get a permit, and that's the gist of the ordinance. Something that's needed. The city's gone through what I'm going to say a crisis of debris, refuse, garbage all over the city. And I'm not going to blame that totally on residents that live here, because I think it also has to do with some personnel issues that need to be corrected. And once that's done, I think that things will get better and go in a direction that they should. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Dabney.
Yeah, and just wanted to point out, I know I've been talking to a lot of people regarding this, and they were asking, so what are the violations? Are they going to really be stiff enough to get people to comply? And looking here, violation number 1, the penalty would be not less than $500 and not more than $2,500. And then for the second repeat violation, not less than $750 and not more than $2,500. So there is some teeth to this in order to be able to enforce this, and I'm happy about that. So there are some real, like I said, some real teeth in order to make sure people comply with this ordinance.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Simmons.
Yes, I'd like to be added to this ordinance, please.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments from the council? Secondly, okay, this will be held over for third reading.
Yeah.
Ms. Nyla, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading, please?
An ordinance on second reading by title only, amending section 58-60 of chapter 58 of the Michigan City Municipal Code and amending various sections within the chapter 98 of the Michigan City Municipal Code pertaining to garbage, trash, and rubbish. And this is introduced by Mr. Don Prespolinski, Ms. Deitch, and Mr. Dabney.
Any comments from the sponsor?
Mr. President, if I may. Yeah. And going back to the workshop, a little bit more discussion on this particular ordinance. And it was also brought up by the superintendent of the sanitary district that there needs to be a stricter inspection and enforcement by the refuse department inspector to make sure that trash isn't left laying around the city. Garbage cans are put back the way they're supposed to be put back within a 24-hour time frame. Inspection or recycle containers need to be put back by the property instead of leaving out by the street, which we see throughout the city. So that is the one of the main issues. Getting back, and I'm not going to hold any punches, getting back to when this discussion first came up. I had asked for how many violations had been written in 2022, and I was told that there were no violations written in 2022. And then in 2023, I asked how many violations. Well, there weren't any violations written prior to the meeting we had, but when I asked how many violations there were in 2023, all of a sudden 3 violations popped up that happened within that week when we had that meeting. So, and I know that the council was asked to appropriate $250,000 to buy this special truck to go around and pick up garbage and what have you. And we put that on hold. We tabled that. And there was a reason, and I'm glad the council members did that, is because when things happen, you have to go to the root cause. The root cause was not having the right equipment to go out and get the garbage. The root cause was, as I said, personnel got to go out, do the job, hold people responsible for the money that we were paying them to do the work. So with that being said, moving on, also getting the information out to the community on this particular ordinance and how it's going to be enforced and the right things that people have to do is that it's going to be put on, it should be put on the city website, possibly going on the radio and discussing it, and plan a informational notice in the water bill. Also ask the planning department and inspection department to keep track of bad and good landlords when it comes to looking after this trash and rubbish. And the sanitary superintendent stated that there's also going to be a digital tracking device that is going to be provided for the refuse director, Connie Adams. And this will provide him with an inventory of pickups and where pickups have been made. And maybe the abuse of pickups for people doing work in the city and using the city as a rubbish company, picking up their debris once a week when they're out doing construction jobs. And also that the sanitary district is going to come up with a billing schedule and a billing method at their next board meeting. And also I did note that Councilman Paul Przybylski noted that he was not happy that landlords are not being held responsible to some degree on this subject matter. So those are the notes that came out of the workshop that we had. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Przybylski.
Mr. President, could I be added as a co-sponsor? And I would also like to ask for third reading to have amendments. That's a motion. You have a motion for that.
For amendments on third reading?
On third.
Oh, I second that.
We have a motion to allow amendments on third reading by Councilman Przybylski and seconded by Councilwoman Deitch. Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
Mr. Dabney.
Hey,
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mr. Mack.
Aye.
Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
Mr. Don Przybylski.
Aye.
Mr. Simmons.
Aye.
And Mr. Paul Przybylski.
Aye.
We have 7 in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Councilman Simmons. Oh, we need to go public. Comments from the public.
This is Tommy Polavic, 1316 Ohio Street. I think this is a great ordinance. I think the first thing we need to do is, since we're going to be billing for all these special pickups and finding the violators, I think the first thing we need to do is give the employees a big fat raise. So 10 years I've been here, I've managed about a half dozen properties throughout the city. They've always been Johnny on the spot. They've given me, their service has been just superb. So I just did a job just across the street between my neighbor George and where my brother Tom Lee runs across the street, cleaned out all between their houses. It looked like a jungle and a cesspool combined. They came with that payload right before labor. They picked up that brush pile 3 times for me. Excellent. You know, a lot of times it's just not the landlord's just clean. A lot of times we have to go and clean out the house of or an apartment or a rental unit of a family member that died. That was my case in 2016 when my sister Tanya passed. You know, she battled leukemia for 3 years. And, you know, I had to do things like haul off her deathbed. And I put it out there. They came, picked up the mattress and the box. The scrappers came and took the bed rails. And, you know, it's, you know, some of the realities in life. It's not like we don't have the resource for them to do. We got a great Hunt's roll-off based in Westville. They can call Hunt's and get a dumpster. Great service. There's professional clean-out companies. Bob Wolchek, he's the plant manager at Harsec. He started the junk luggers. You call them. I've talked to them because, you know, my mom likes to keep stuff when I need their services. There's also Ben Conowitz in LaPorte. He started Chuck It Junk Removal. Another great company. There's also a company based out of Crown Point. They're called Fire Dogs. They're retired firefighters. They service all the Northwest India. I talked to them at the Home and Expo, so Blue Chip. I also want to say you can also haul your debris out to the Kingsbury you can haul it yourself or hire somebody to haul it for it to Kingsbury, Waste Management, Kingsbury landfill and charge a tipping fee. There's really no use for them to, get a dumpster, haul it off, get somebody to haul it for you. It's, people aren't gonna let me say this, but it's time we regulate the scrappers. Right now scrap prices are down. You don't see them out there, but it's really, they're getting all this income pretty much tax free. I think we need to, their vehicles, a lot of times their truck beds are overloaded. Their trucks are, trailers are unplated, no lights. We need to put some kind of regulation on that. There's a lot of communities that ban scrapping, like Hammond. If you cross over Calumet City, you cross Sibley Boulevard into Hammond, they actually have a sign, "Welcome to Hammond," right underneath. "Welcome to Hammond, Mayor Thomas McDermott." And then underneath it says "No scrapping inside the city limits." It's got the ordinance number under it. So it's just what I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalavic.
Ernie Holland, 302 Gladys Street. I did mention a pile of stuff to Mr. Prevolinski earlier before the meeting started. It is a huge pile. And my question is, when the garbage men go through to pick up the garbage, why haven't they called that in to report that? Because it's been there quite some time. Evidently somebody moved out of the house or something, because it's piled up pretty high back there. I just curious on that. Why don't they, do they not have radios in the truck where they can call in and tell them about this kind of stuff?
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Ernie, in response to that, at the workshop that did come up as far as the city working as a team.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, if the refuse department doesn't see it, but the inspection department does see it, they should make note, send a message on the laptop, however, radio, telephone. Yeah, everybody has to work together. A councilman sees it, he calls it in. The citizen sees it, they call it in. Yeah, but everybody has to work together on the city team to make things better for everybody. So that was one of the things that was
yeah, I missed
recognized. I know, Ernie, but I just want to bring that up. That was a good point. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Comments from the council? Councilman Simmons?
I like to be added to this also. And you're exactly right, Councilman Prevolinski. All it takes is a call into the city.
Any other comments, Councilman Prevolinski?
As was noted by Councilman Don Prevolinski, I was kind of frustrated at this workshop because I'm concerned about the special pickups that are given to homeowners. And I also was concerned about scheduled pickups for furniture that's put out on the street. I was also concerned about a lot of, I don't know how you want to describe it, but people either getting evicted or just moving out, and then all their trash is either on the alleyway or in the front of the house. And so in ensuing my pursuit of information, I went to the county, and I never was told about if the inspection department even had a list, but I was told that we had good renters and our good landlords, and we had bad landlords. So all I can say is that I came up with a list from the assessor's office of 1,900 listed rental properties in the city of Michigan City. And now I'm not saying that all these people are bad landlords, but there's a few of them out there. And I think that if you would investigate, and I want to see some teeth in this ordinance to tells the inspection department what to do and how to do it, or otherwise it's not going to happen. And I already talked to the city attorney about it. And I think that when I was told about good landlords and bad landlords, you know, you have to start somewhere. And I guess it was easy enough to get a list, to start a list, you know, from the assessor's office. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that the inspection department, in conjunction, and that's what I said, that there needs to be more communication between the departments to solve the problem. You can write all the ordinances that you want, but if you're not specific in what you want done, it's not going to happen. And I think that I'm specific in making sure that the homeowners do not get stung by this ordinance. So that's why I brought up about how many landlords there are, and this is all voluntary, you know. So this kind of, for me, this kind of you know, talks about, we were talking about another ordinance on registration and things of that nature. Well, there's a good start right here. This is all voluntary. You know, we didn't have to write, and I don't mean to be picking on anybody or anything, but I mean, information is there and you need to use the information that you have. And so this is a starting point, and I'm going to ask the clerk to make a copy for everyone and put it on file and give it to the inspection department, you know, and they can start working on it. They have some kind of information they can go to and start doing something with it. So with that, as I can support having some kind of ordinance, but believe me, is that the homeowners should not be getting railed, and that we spent last year on garbage disposal. Now that's including, you know, everything, like $628,000, but that's everything. That's rubbish. That's your trash pickup on a weekly basis and disposing of the building material or whatever else. So I hope that we come to a good medium on this thing and really attack the problem on these people that are polluting our neighborhoods with this filth. And I've had many calls on it, and it's really a shame what some of these landlords get away with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments from the council?
Yeah, just one more comment. And hopefully the sanitary board is going to meet and make a decision on this charging rate, because I want to see what this charging rate is going to be. Okay, you know, I know what our ordinance is going to be, but I don't know what this charging rate's going to, and what effect it's going to have on this ordinance. Yeah, I mean, my name's on it right now, but if depending on what that charging rate's going to be, that'll be a deciding factor also. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments from the council? Having none, this will be held over for third reading. Ms. Snyder, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading?
An ordinance on second reading.
Can I ask for a 5-minute recess?
Yep, we'll take a 5-minute recess. All right, we're gonna call the meeting back to order. Ms. Snyder, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading?
An ordinance on second reading by title only, ordinance or resolution for appropriation and tax rates. And this is introduced by Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Comments from the sponsor? Councilman Prespolinski.
Mr. President, at this time, I would like to make a amendment on the motion to amend the proposed ordinance to cut 2 million out of this and 500 that will come directly cut from the Riverboat Fund.
We have a motion by Councilman Prespolinski. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Tillman. Ms. Nyla, one vote, please.
Mr. Dabney,
This is the amendment.
Nay.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Matt,
Nay.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
and Ms. Tillman.
Aye.
We have 6 in favor and 2 opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Any other comments from the sponsor? Real quick, this is just the 2024 proposed budget. Any,
May I ask a question?
Yeah, we got.
comments from the public?
Okay, go ahead.
Any comments from the public? Comments from the public? Comments from the council? Councilman Dabney?
Yeah, the question I have is if we're gonna make these amount of cuts, who's gonna be responsible for pinpointing the $2 million? The 500,000 says directly from Riverboat, but who is going to be the people responsible for the other $1.5 million? Who's going to say how that's gonna happen? Is it gonna be us? Or are we gonna allow the controller's office to do so? Because that could mean a lot of hurt for certain departments if we cut the wrong things and take away from certain departments. And so I would like to know who is going to be the ones responsible for pinpointing the cuts that are going to happen over time, because there could be some serious hurt put on some different departments if the wrong things are cut. So I would just like clarification on that. And that's why I voted nay.
Yeah, and I have a question.
I think that would be left up to the administration. Councilman Deitch, Councilwoman
Yeah.
Deitch.
So that was gonna be my question. I know last year we did this, and I believe we had a workshop afterwards to discuss what those would be, that the administration came back and brought forth what the impact would be. Because my question is, I went along with the amendment because we have not done a good job. There's some opportunities for us to increase revenues, and we haven't decreased any expenses. We're only going up and up for everything. And so I would like to know if we have something or something is brought forward as far as a recommendation, I would want to hear that, because I'm going to make a motion that we make amendments on third reading, because if there's something that's impacted, that's a detrimental impact, I would like for us to be able to have that conversation and to make those changes. So I move to make amendments on third reading.
Second.
We have a motion to allow amendments on third reading by Councilwoman Deitch and seconded by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
and Mr. Dabney.
Nay.
We have 7 in favor and 1 opposed.
So if I can continue with my question. So what I would like to know, last year it was all from the riverboat. And this time we're saying 500,000 from the riverboat directly and 1.5, I guess, from wherever else. So I guess my question will be is what would that impact be from the, from the the administration's perspective, and if we need a joint workshop, I think we can do it during the finance committee, maybe, to have that discussion and maybe get the recommendations from them. And then if we need to increase it, we can on third reading. If we need to move some things back, we can do it on third reading. So, but I would like to hear from the administration, and maybe we just do that at the finance committee meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any comments from the public? Oh, that was already public comment. Any other comments from the council? Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Councilman President.
Yeah, and I know we just went through budget hearings, but I also believe that there could be one more run through the administration to have them pinpoint some opportunities that possibly we can cut the budget a little bit more. And by no means do I want to see, and it's not my intentions by no means to make cuts just for the sake of making cuts. We have to be smart. If we're going to make a cut, we got to make sure that it's not detrimental to both the employees or both to the city. And we all know that. You know, we all know that. We've been through the budget. We've been through this process, and we are just looking for more opportunities to save money and reel back the riverboat spending some more. So that's, I believe, is what my intention is for voting yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments from the council?
Yeah.
Councilman Dabney.
And my concern on the flip side of that is, let's just say that they go and they pinpoint the cuts and then they come back and then the council doesn't agree with those cuts. Then are we going to push the timetable back in terms of getting our budget submitted? I hope not. I hope it all works clean and we get this done and get it through. Not that it's going to happen. And I was hoping that if we had, some changes like this, that it would have come out, out of the finance committee, and that would have been something we could have addressed even before we started getting into the reading. So I'm just hopefully, like I said, this all works smooth, and I'm going to be there and hope it goes through where you don't have any issues. So now that it's happening, I'm on board with it, and let's get this done and get it done the right way.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Tillman.
I just wanted to add in regards to this coming forth and filed today that during the Finance Committee budget hearings, and again, it was always conveyed, and even today, that if there were any amendments, they're presented by the Finance Committee to the council. At that point, it is out of the Finance Committee hands in regards to if any of the council members chooses to or want to make any additional amendments. Those conversations do not always necessarily have to come to the Finance Committee, because each individual that is on here is representing their ward and what they feel is in the best need for their ward in making those decisions. So I just wanted to clarify that this was not something that was overlooked, but because today, up until October 3rd, any council members can make a request to make a motion to amend anything pertaining to the 2024 budget for the city.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Prespolinski.
Oh, I just wanted to say that, we did this before, and yeah, we have to look at the main issue is sustainability. And that's my whole theme song here is sustainability, how we're going to do it. And I think that, which was stated in our meetings, that they are the professionals. So let them go through it and massage it and come back to us and see what they can come up with. Because I believe that there are areas that can be cut. Now, my whole impact, I believe, is that we sit down and say, okay, what do you think you have to have and what you don't have to have? That's how this budget is a negotiated process. It's just like you present it, you go through it, you look at it. And I spent some time looking on it and making a lot of notes. And I think that this is easier as going through the whole budget is telling us what they really need or what they can cut. And I believe that they have the expertise on what is inflated and what's not. And you know what? One thing that ticked me off last year and the year before that was all these EFTs. And then people come back and say, oh yeah, we got that in the riverboat money and we can transfer that. Remember you passed it on the EFTs? No, I'm just saying I'm bringing it forward because I think that stuff needs to be identified and why. I understand some departments run on a negative, but there's some departments that are getting revenue in, and I'm saying, okay, let's see what you got, what you can put forth. That's my whole thrust behind this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments from the council? This ordinance will be held over for third reading. Ms. Nyla, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading by title only?
An ordinance setting salaries and wages for appointed officials and employees of the city of Michigan City, Indiana for the calendar year 2024. And this is introduced by Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Any comments from the sponsor? This is basically the same thing, but this is related to the salaries for the 2024 budget. Do the council comment. Any comments from the public?
Tommy Clavick, 1316 Ohio Street. Just like I said earlier, we probably got the best municipal workers that you'll find anywhere. I think they're the ones that definitely deserve the big fat raise here. I just want to thank them for all their service out there in all kinds of weather, and I have them deal with all kinds of whatever. And I just think they're the ones that need the raise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalavic. Any other comments from the public? Comments from the council? Councilwoman Tillman.
Thank you, Mr. President. In regards to this ordinance, there was an amendment and that was filed with the clerk of the court, with the clerk's office. Do I need to read through what the changes are? So it's indicating now that whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36-4-7-3, the Common Council of the City of Michigan City may be ordinance reduced by, may not increase in salaries and wages set by the mayor. And whereas the Finance Committee of the Common Council of the City of Michigan City has recommended the following amendments to the schedule of salaries and wages set by the mayor for the calendar year 2024. Number one, the proposed increase in the salary of the police chief should be reduced from 13% to 6% over calendar year 2023, so that the calendar year 2024 salary for the police chief shall be established at $93,440.06. Number two, the proposed increase in the salary of the deputy police chief should be reduced from the 13% to 6% over calendar year 2023, so that the calendar year 2024 salary for the deputy police chief shall be established at $84,617.68. Number three, the proposed increase in the salary of the fire chief should be reduced from 12% to 6% over calendar year 2023, so that the calendar year 2024 salary for the fire chief shall be established at $92,910.06. Number 4, the proposed increase in the salary of the deputy fire chief should be reduced from 12% to 6% over the calendar year 2023, so that the calendar year 2024 salary for the deputy fire chief shall be established at $84,119.48.
There a second?
Second.
We have proposed amendments and a second by amendments proposed by Councilwoman Tillman and seconded by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Mr. Mack,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman, Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
and Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Any other comments from the council? Councilman Prespolinski?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Having none, this will be held over for third reading. Ms. Nyla, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading by title only?
An ordinance on second reading by title only. An ordinance setting the annual salary for the mayor. And this is introduced by Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Comments from the sponsor? This is the ordinance going over the proposed salary for the mayor for the year 2024. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council? All right, this ordinance will be held over for third reading. Ms. Nyla, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading?
An ordinance on second reading by title only. An ordinance setting the annual salary for the city clerk. And this is also introduced by Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Comments from the sponsor? So this is the proposed budget, the proposed salary for the clerk for the 2024 year. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
I would like to
Councilman Prespolinski.
make a motion for amendments on third reading. What? Oh. Oh, you can't? Okay, I'm sorry.
I didn't get a second anyway. That's for lack of a second. Any other comments from the council? All right, this will be held over for third reading. Ms. Nyla, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading by title only?
An ordinance on second reading by title only. An ordinance establishing salaries for the fire department of the city of Michigan City for the calendar year 2024. And this is also introduced by Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Any comments from the sponsor? This is for the 2024 calendar year budget for salaries for the fire department. Comments from the public?
Yeah, Tommy Klavick, 1316 Ohio Street. The firefighters' salaries are already set. They were negotiated by their union. Their contract will expire on December 31st, 2024. I would like to kick around a couple ideas. I know the city employees got a extra paid bonus vacation day for during the month of their birthday. I'd like to see the firefighters, even the police, get that. The little thing we had at ANCO, if we gave 1 hour's pay a month, the little LaPorte County United Way, we got a bonus paid vacation day. The firefighters, if you're a 25-year fighter, you only get 15 days vacation. I'd like to see them get more. Additionally, I'd like to make perhaps get $8,400 out of lit. Would they give us a $25 gift certificate to Meyer every year? And ANCO is kind of like the company got for the vending machines. I'd like to see the firefighter get $8,400 out of lit. We can give all 81 firefighters, as well as the chief and the deputy chiefs, $100 L supermarket gift card, where they can either use that at Christmas time to buy groceries for them and their families, or they can just turn around and donate to the United Way. And those are things we had that I thought were great. We have in my former employer, and I'd like to have that for the fire and even the police to get in on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klavick. Any other comments from the public? Comments from the council? This ordinance will be held over for third reading. Ms. Nyla, can you please read the next ordinance on second reading by title only?
An ordinance on second reading by title only, establishing the salaries for the Michigan City Police Department for the calendar year 2024. And this is introduced by Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Again, this is for the 2024 calendar year budget salaries for the police department. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council? Having none, this will be held up for third reading. Ms. Nyla, can you please read our next ordinance on second reading by title only?
An ordinance on second reading by title only, an ordinance setting the annual salaries for the common council members. And this is introduced by Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Comments from the sponsor? This is for the 2024 salaries for the council members. Any comments from the public?
Yeah, Tommy Klobuchar, 1316 Ohio Street. I gotta be honest with you, I feel your salaries should be apportionate to every other cities of the third class. We're basically essentially a city of third class, even though we're still grandfathered in. You know, we're gonna have about 29,500 residents in 4 years after they close the prison. Thank God they're finally doing that. But what I would like, I know Councilman Dabney tried doing this when you first came on the council. I think all the United Council members should be offered health insurance. I think that would really entice this when we have our next election in 4 years, we get maybe a younger group of candidates running. I think that would be huge for the council. It's just my opinion. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Thank you, Mr. Kalavic. Comments from the council? Having none, this will be held over for third reading. No new business, no unfinished business. Comments from the public? Any comments from the public?
New business, right?
Yeah, general comments. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure, I'm new to this. My name is Scott Mellon, 200
3 minutes to speak.
First, I'd like to thank the council for giving me a chance here. A couple things. A little late to the refuse thing. I should have spoken up then. We already have a refuse ordinance that people have an unsightly yard. They could be cited for that. I think the last thing our building department needs, who I think is understaffed and not up to snuff, frankly, in my opinion, is another reason to hold people from developing things. Last thing they need is, do we want to foster development of the city or make things harder? So, best thing they need is another thing. They're already understaffed. My primary reason for coming here is about the flock cameras. I am a little late to the party here. I understand that, but I have real civil liberty kind of issues about this. There are many of these cameras. We've just had the police chief say they've had 2.2 million hits. That's a lot of surveillance. At this point, there have been a couple of crimes solved by these cameras. It's a slippery slope. Councilmember Prespolinski cares about fiscal sustainability. Who's paying for these? Who's paying for the maintenance? This is an ongoing expense to the police department. They're being swamped with over 50,000 hits a month. That's 1 a minute of a ping, 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 ping. How effective is that? Do we really need to be surveilled as we drive about our town? I don't think we should be, personally. And one of the main concerns in today's day and age is the data policies, data retention, who controls the data. I understand we have a 30-day retention policy on this. That's a very long period to hold data. Some municipalities that subscribe to this system have a 5-minute. It's either hits and it's dropped. We have a 30-day retention policy. I've spoken one-on-one, and I thank the police chief. I've spoken with him directly on this. I've spoken to the mayor directly on this. And I've spoken to Sheriff Heeg on this one-on-one. Again, I know I'm late. I know we feel crime is out of control, and this is a way to help that. 2.2 million hits, 50,000 hits a month. That's an additional burden to our police department, who manages that database of 30 days, so on and so forth. I'm sorry, I'm new to this and I don't have this very well thought out, but it's a slippery slope. I think 35 cameras in town is far too much. And the last thing to leave with is basically the famous quote from Benjamin Franklin. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Excuse me, Mr. Mellon. I want to give you the website. Block it. This will catch you up on a lot of it, our work. I've looked at it. You got to look at it? Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Sir, if I may, yeah, because you brought up about the
sustainability. That was the word he used. Fiscal sustainability.
Yeah.
Like that, huh? Well, I like all kinds of sustainability. But as a taxpayer, I like fiscal sustainability as well.
Yeah, the comment you made about the refuse ordinance, it was actually, it wasn't the city council that wrote this. We wanted it, but it was actually the inspection department and code enforcement and the city attorney that came up with the idea and wrote this ordinance. And then the council members, Dabney, myself, and Angie Deitch looked at it and put our endorsement on it. So they're the ones that, and I know they have a lot of work to do, but they felt by getting these ordinances into play that it would, in the long run, help their jobs and make the city look better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My experience with them has not been positive with the inspection department and how it's run. I think the last thing they need is another thing to burden people or a limit. One cabinet, I mean, they think you need a permit to change a fixture, a light, which you do not. So maybe there needs to be a burden. When do you need a dumpster? There needs to be a project size that qualifies for this. It can't be for every little thing because you give people a little bit of power and sometimes they get really big heads. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Nancy Molnar, 107 K Lane. I want to acknowledge that this week is National Voter Registration Day and want to encourage everybody to check to see if they're still registered to vote and also encourage people to register to vote for the first time. And you can do that at indianavoters.in.gov. Also, I want to acknowledge the League of Women Voters, LaPorte County. They'll be going out to many of the schools and registering our youth to become first-time voters. And I know we talk a lot about getting our youth involved, and this is one way that they can be involved is by becoming a voting citizen. Municipal elections are this fall, as I'm sure everyone is aware of. And I want to encourage all to vote because I firmly believe and feel that your local elections are the ones that really determine what happens to our everyday lives. And this is more so than the state or federal elections. So let's get excited about having elections for our municipal elected officials this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Council. Dakota Euler, 718 Emma Street. I wanted to express the same sentiments about voter registration. I hope the League of Women Voters also express to these high school students that they are also available to work in these elections. That brings them the knowledge of how the process works and it gets them excused day out of school. I also wanted to express my gratitude to the street department here in Michigan City. Coincidentally, I made a recommendation via email, and then the next business morning, 8 a.m., I heard trucks outside of my alleyway. cutting down tree limbs, and it looks much, much better in that regard. However, while they were out there, it was noted that some of the pavement that was in the alleyway there's now a whole pothole, so I don't know exactly. I'll be reaching out again to see if we can get that resolved. But appreciate their promptness with having that addressed. And also, I would like to express my want to see Risky Ave. The striping there is almost no striping. I've tried to raise those concerns via email to different departments and haven't received any replies. So any support from the council would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Ernie Hollihan, 302 Gladys. The Risky Ave I brought up quite some time ago, and nothing has been done about it. It's still a hazard when you pull up to that stoplight. You don't know if somebody's going to come across and hit you head on. I just want to express my disappointment because Michigan City, in my opinion, is going down. We're losing population. We have no industries, very few industries in town. LaPorte is growing. I've seen LaPorte growing like crazy over there. And all we got is the double track, which is hindering everybody. They closed Carroll Ave. They detour them over to Risky. You got the train over there blocking traffic all the time. So you're stuck either way you go. I think paper said that's going to be close until the 28th. That's a hindrance to everybody. I'm just totally disappointed. I've been here most of my life and I don't see much future going for our young ones coming up.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Comments from the council? Councilman Dabney?
Yeah, just want to talk about, the president announced it, that we had a resignation. Dalia Jigas resigned from the council, and her letter it said was effective as of September 13th. But I just wanted to recognize her as somebody that put in a lot of work. Dalia really cared about the people here in Michigan City. She always wanted to do what was right for the people here in Michigan City. And I'll just give you some of the examples of some of the things that she concentrated on while working here as a city councilwoman. We had a project where we were trying to get money for weatherization, and that to help older citizens. That's what it would turn out to be, older citizens, but it would have turned out to be some of our least fortunate in terms of getting money to be able to do repairs to their homes so they could then be weatherized. So instead of having to sell their homes, the homes could be fixed up so they could then stay. So that was something that she jumped in on with me, and we tried to get that over the finish line and help out some residents here in Michigan City. She was tackling a rental ordinance that's been going on and on and on, and eventually it's turned into a rental registration now, but she always saw that as a public safety issue in terms of having places to live for some of our underserved people, safe places to live. She wanted to look out for those people to make sure they had places to go, where they just had heat, running water, and so forth. Not the Taj Mahal, but just make sure these people had safe places to live. That was the concentration of what she was trying to do there. We, a couple of years back, saw what was coming with Airbnb rentals. At the time it came up, a lot of the conversation, we were talking about Sheridan Beach. And out there now, Airbnbs are all over the city. And we were hoping to put some regulation down in order to control some of the activity that's going on with Airbnb. I still get the complaints of people that are waking up to new neighbors every weekend or more people coming in during the week. And so they're waking up with all these new neighbors and it's causing some issues. And she really concentrated on that and wanted to make sure we had some regulation like Long Beach has, like Beverly Shores has. She then was working on something going on with the sewer project that we were trying to pass to get down Lakeshore Drive. It became an issue of, the folks from Long Beach had come in and, crowded this space because they didn't want to pay for the bonding issue that was going to go out. And I understand that they didn't want to pay any fees per month to have us run a sewer down Lakeshore Drive. But her focus in that whole thing was the fact that we had houses fall over into the lake, septic systems falling into the lake. So that was sewage dropping into our lake. And we really wanted to try to clean that up by having sewer run down there. So that was her concentration there. That's where she was going with that. And then also there's a big problem that we haven't discussed a whole lot on the city council, but coal ash and what's happening with the closing of NIPSCO. She's been very involved with Just Transitions. That's a group that's been, trying to give information about what's happening with the coal ash and the cleanup that we need to have to be safe for the city of Michigan City. So I just point some of these things out to just try to give you a focus of, or give you an idea of the things she wanted to accomplish that she thought was for the, the best or the betterment of the city of Michigan City. I'm going to miss her because, her and I have some long conversations about things going on in the city. And at the last meeting when she was first out with the, after she had the medical issue, I called her my cellmate. Because even at the turn of every presidency, we've always sat together. So I called her my cellmate. But I'm really going to miss Dahlia and some of her insight. And I wish her the best. I know the plan of what she's trying to do. I don't know how, if I want to make that all public to everybody. But like I said, we talked quite a bit. And I've been in contact with her. And I don't think she knows that I was going to do this. I'm sure she's listening. But just wanted to say, I wish her well, and I'm going to miss Dahlia Jigas. And there is going to be a caucus. I did look it up. I actually have a date in my phone. Yes,
The 26th.
Tuesday. The 26th. So we're going to caucus a new person into her spot to finish out her term. And so I look forward to meeting that new person. But they're going to be replacing a really good one that we had here on our city council. Do you have any time left, or did I spend it all?
Go for it.
Okay. Thank you, by the way, because I know I'm over my limit, so I'm asking for permission. He can cut me off. Angie can be parliamentarian and tell him.
You're not over.
But she went like this. I guess that meant go ahead. And I just want to talk about something that's been getting some reviews, rave reviews on one hand, and reviews in the opposite direction. The solar project that's coming up over here, whether the You Are Beautiful monument is standing right now. And I kind of look at these things, a lot of people were saying, well, this is something that's going to be for people coming in the city. The people in Michigan City cannot afford to live there, rent, whatever it may be. I can't afford it. But these are the type of projects that pay the freight, that bring in the tax dollars for us to pay our firemen, for us to pay our police. When you break down property tax dollars and where they go, what is paid on houses because of the property tax caps that were put on with the state of Indiana. These are the things that pay the freight. And these are the type of investment that we need to have in Michigan City. I know there was a lot of complaint on Facebook, a lot of people talking about, well, we can't afford it. Like I said, I can't afford it, but am I going to vote against it? No, because I understand the bigger picture. There is going to be a development coming up right here on 8th Street and Michigan Boulevard, where the apartments are going to be made, where they will be priced out more similar to what we have now with some of the apartment complexes here in Michigan City. So we are looking out for everybody as we go forward here in Michigan City. But this is over, and I'm taking this from Don Babcock, and he was talking, he said over $250,000 investment in the solar project. And like I said, I can't.
$250
Quarter who?
billion.
250 million.
Did I just say quarter who in the meeting? I'm sorry about that. No. Tracy laughing at me down there. But anyway, yeah, $250 million. Thank you for that correction, everybody. But yeah, but these are the type of projects that come and they pay the freight. And we need these projects moving forward. And I look forward to more coming here to Michigan City and more people wanting to move into Michigan City. So I'm happy about it. I hope others see the good in some of these things that are coming to Michigan City and we can move forward in a great direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Deitch.
Yes, and I agree. I would like to also wish Councilwoman Dahlia Jigas well. She's been very thoughtful and very fair in you know how she deliberates, and I appreciate that. Also with the development too. Yeah, there is a lot on social media, but a lot of the same people that are commenting. But again, that tax base is what's going to assist our residents with the needs that they need into the future. But there'll be more developments to come as well, and we'll see those coming. And hopefully the council in the future, you know, will grow to understand. I know some council meetings back that there was concern when we had our bond, and there was a lot of back and forth about, you know, how those projects come about and what those are. But I do want to share that there is an informational workshop that I partnered with the LaPorte County Building Trades on. It's going to be at the NECA IBEW Training Center, the old Central School, at 5:30 next Thursday on the 28th of September. And we're going to talk about the pros and cons of project labor agreements and responsible bidder ordinances, and probably have some copies of our hiring ordinance there. But it's more of a informational for people to take the information and digest it, and just get to understand it. I know that there's also been legislation that did not get through our state legislators previously around PLA. So there's a lot to digest, and coming to one council meeting does not do it justice at the nth hour. And that, you know, we as council members, though sometimes that was like one of the first times I've heard some of that information. And for union people, representatives to show up, you know, when we're at the nth hour, when something's been on the agenda for 8 weeks, it was alarming in the sense that, okay, this project has been on the books for a while, but moving forward, we can be better educated on how we move forward, how these people who are running for office, who are on the ballot now, I encourage them to come listen to, you know, some of the things that they have to offer. I found information that has pros and cons, and, you know, and reading some of the responsible bidder ordinances that I've seen, they're very simple. Some of the things that are in our hiring ordinance are in those ordinances. So we have things that are on the books, but we just need to make sure that elected officials are educated about it, but also the public is educated, so that we don't go back and forth in arguments about something we know nothing about. And that's what happened that night. And we spent a lot of time on it. And I'm the first to say I didn't know all that about it, but now we need to be educated about it. So next Thursday, September 28th, 5:30 at NECA IBEW, we'll be there with the LaPorte County Building Trades. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any comments from Councilman Prespolinski.
I just want to say that I am very happy that this sewer lateral ordinance has finally made it through the process. And I will say this is that at our last council meeting, I had an exchange with the controller, and I want everybody to know and reiterate the fact that I questioned the controller about the time frame on why that they weren't complying with the ordinance, and the answer was, yeah, I got a copy of the ordinance. So I'm just going to say that with this additional information, that letter was from the mayor's office August 15th. So now we're still 97 days, I think, into this. But the fact of the matter is they were holding it up. That's plain and simple. All right. And that's a shame, because this could have been taken care of and moved forward a long time ago, you know. And for those people that have a problem and will have a problem in the future, is that I am very, very happy that this legislation got through, and that what I look at is why, like Mr. Demney said, why was it passed? I don't get it. I don't get it still today. You know, it doesn't matter who was there, but the mayor should have said, no, that's not right. The mayor at the time, he's the chief executive officer. You know, they're putting a hardship on people. And, you know, there's been quite a few streets that were pinpointed. One was on the west side. And, you know, Pearl Street was brought up in a study many, many years ago, that in 2005, that we're still waiting. And this is the stuff that really gets to me, that's what we're supposed to be doing with that riverboat money. Geez, if you only use $1 million a year, you can do a street a year. So, I mean, it's really sad that these neighborhoods are going through this. Thank you. And I want to appreciate the fact that out of a little trip, I got all this information on rental homes, and I'm not targeting any renter, any owner. What I'm doing is trying to make the point that they could have got the same information by calling over there. It's public record. That's the problem we have in the inspection department. And sir, we talked about that ordinance years ago, that they had it on the books for 10 years. And then they finally decide to enact that ordinance under this administration. And we haven't got anywhere. It is a big, convoluted mess, that book. Okay. So I hope that personally, I hope the landlords get together, come together and do something to their benefit. And another thing is this, I did ask, and I'm getting the information on what the shutdown of the gen station is going to do to our effect on our tax base. NIPSCO, I believe, is one of the big taxpayers in our community. So that's another thing why I'm bringing up that word on sustainability, because it's coming shortly. I don't know if it's 2028, but it's looming. So besides the coal ash, I think that we got to start you got to start scratching your head what we're going to do. Thank you. And thank you, Don, for all your words of encouragement on that legislation. And remember, there was a rumor out, there was a rumor that the mayor was gonna veto that. There was a rumor out. And the mayor did go over there and tell those people that they didn't have any money. He didn't have any money to do this. Thank you. Thank you, council members, and Jewel, and Nick. All right. Thank you.
And another thing, I'm just kidding. Any other comments from the council?
I have a comment.
Councilman Prespolinski.
Yeah, I would like to wish Councilwoman Zegas good luck in her future endeavors and with her health. Get well soon, Dahlia. She was to me, a very good and very congenial council person, very professional. She wore her job to her heart, and she had a lot of good intentions. Sometimes things get passed, sometimes things don't get passed. But you always knew where you stood with Dahlia, and I thought she was very thorough and did a very professional job and represented the citizens of Michigan City well. Secondly, I want to thank Mr. Brian Gonzalez, I should say firefighter Gonzalez, and the Fire Local 475 for the golf outing they put on last Friday. Myself and Councilwoman Angie Nelson Deitch participated along with a couple other gentlemen, and what they do with the money is they provide scholarships. I don't know anything about the scholarship program, but I knew they have a scholarship program, and all the money they raise goes back into the community as far as Thanksgiving and Christmas with food baskets. So that was very good, and thank you, Local 475, for that. And just one more thing, and I talked about it at the last council meeting, and I want to end on a positive note, and I think this is a positive note. It would have been a positive note, but it's not going to happen this year. But hopefully it's going to happen in the future, and that's with a recreation director. I was told that the position was put in the 2024 budget, but that the mayor and the city controller took it out of the budget. And I guess what my problem is what kind of recreation program do we really have for the children, the teenagers, the middle-aged people, and the senior citizens in the city of Michigan City? Not unless you join the Y, you remember the YMCA, or possibly the Boys and Girls Club. There are no other recreation programs. I mean, I don't know everything the park department does. I guess they may have baseball, basketball. Do you guys have those programs?
Baseball.
We have baseball, don't have basketball. In one of the premier basketball cities in the state of Indiana, we can't even provide that for children, teenagers, or adults. I remember growing up, we had basketball. We had, for adults, I used to play at the Armory every Saturday, basketball leagues. Everybody used to play down there in leagues, but we don't have it. You have to invest, and you have to hire a recreational director to get this city off of Center One and do something for the people that live in the city. I understand all the development, and I love development. I love seeing brand new things built. And yeah, the hotel, the Solis building is going to be amazing. The double track's amazing. But what does that do for the little kid that lives on Gardena Street or Barker Ave or anywhere, West Side, East Side, South Side, North Side? They don't have any programs to do anything. And then I know that we had that meeting with about the gun violence. 2 months ago, I think it was. And the report came back to us that there's nothing for teenage, young adults to do in the city in the summertime or possibly throughout the rest of the year. And recreation provides a great means for people not only to make a better society, to make a better city, but to make a better person, both mentally and physically. We have to get with it. I was very, I'm amazed. I guess I'm just going to say I'm amazed that we have a $70 million budget. We have a $70 million a year budget. We have $7 million in a riverboat right now. And I know we don't like to hire people and pay them out of the riverboat. I understand. I get all that. But we don't have money in our budget to find $50,000 to hire somebody as a recreational director in Michigan City. No, we don't have that. But you know what we're going to do? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to hire another janitor for City Hall, and then we're going to hire a director, make him a director, the head of the vector control department, the people that go and cut the grass and the weeds around the city and pick up garbage. We're going to make that person who's now a foreman, we're going to make him a director and give him a $12,000 a year raise. And you know how many people he's going to be responsible for? During the summer, he'll be responsible for 8 people. One of the persons is a foreman that'll be working under him. And then there's 7 employees. So you have a director and you have 8 employees under him. And then when wintertime comes and some of these people get laid off, I was told there'll be 5 people in that department. So you have an individual getting paid $55,000 a year. And for 3 to 4 months out of the year, he's going to be responsible for 4 people so that he can report directly to the mayor. And the mayor is going to tell him what to do, I guess, on a day-to-day basis. I think if I was mayor of a 35,000 people city, I'd have more important things to worry about than going out where to cut the grass at on a day-to-day basis. To me, that's just an example of poor planning, poor financial, what's the word? Sustainability. Thank you. I got it. But yeah, that just gets me. And I'm thinking that, for the young parents in the city, for everybody in the city, not to have a recreation director, not to have a vibrant, we always hear this word, vibrant. Michigan City vibrant, West Side vibrant, East Side vibrant. But we don't have a vibrant recreation department. And we need that. We need that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Simmons.
Yes, I would also like to thank Dahlia for her service, wish her well, and it's certainly been a pleasure working with her. True lady.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments from the council?
Motion to adjourn.